Firstly, I would like to thank Andhra University Incubation, AHUB, and Gramina Incubation for organizing the Startup Saturday meeting for the benefit of the young entrepreneurs, where the primary mandate is to inspire, encourage, and support the students with new ideas. This meeting is not only to educate and guide us, but also move through a further variety of things. I would like to introduce the energetic and charming Bharghav Duggirala. Bharghav Duggirala currently works in the growth team at ChargeBee, a subscription billing and a revenue management product for a fast-growing SaaS companies. His current role at ChargeBee is to manage and build global startup accelerator and VC partnerships and for scaling growth and experiments for early-stage startup customers acquisition. He is also a regional chair for Innovation Southern Region and past chapter chair at CII Young Indians. His past experiences includes managing startups programs at industry bodies like NASCOM, project management, Essentials, and multiple roles at early startup stage startups. Bhargav is going to speak about SaaS, idea generations, automations, and tools for startup and growth. Please join me in introducing him to the stage.
Just one time. Just one time.
So
When you take the mic,
yeah,
there are people sitting in the back.
yeah, that's what is adding pressure.
Hello. So thank you for that introduction, and thank you to Mr. Srinivas for inviting me over today. And so glad to have people here. I think how many ever people are there. I hope that whatever I speak about is useful. And what I try to do is, when Danesh asked me for a topic, I couldn't think of a topic, so I gave a list of things, right? So I thought by the end of the day, I can pick one and talk about it over here. And so there's no one way that I could really, like, if I have to be honest, there's no one way that I can add value to everybody sitting over here, right? Because each one is doing different things, which is why I thought I will share a couple of approaches, how and where to look for things, and some examples from my personal experience, right? And then that gives you the starting point to start thinking about it for your own venture or for your own personal or professional. So, change slides. Yeah, so just about me, I put a couple of logos over there. So I currently work at ChargeBee. Just like she introduced, I'm in the growth team at ChargeBee. ChargeBee is a very fast-growing SaaS company that serves SaaS companies, right? SaaS is software as a service. So if you see any of these subscription billing models that you pay for, right, like Netflix and all these companies, they have a subscription and recurring billing model. So if you are a business that has that model, you can plug and play into ChargeBee and run a lot of things on autopilot, just to give a very high-level overview. Right? And I'm in the ChargeBee for Startups team. So my role is to go and build global startup accelerator and VC partnerships. So I go partner with venture capitalists and VCs globally, predominantly the US region. So if you're a VC and if you have 50 companies in your portfolio, when I partner with you, it opens doors for me to, kind of give ChargeBee for free to your portfolio companies in the initial days, and they become future paying customers, right? So if any of you are familiar with the incubator or accelerator model, you get AWS credits when you join it and all that. So AWS was kind of the pioneer for this startup program. And today, almost every large software tech company has an X for Startups program, right? Zendesk for startups, Freshworks for startups, ChargeBee for startups, same way. So I'm a member of Young Indians also. I'm wearing that t-shirt today because I have it. And so I was the past chapter chair for Young Indians, and also the current regional chair for innovation. So I leveled up in YI, and so currently covering the southern region. So chapters like Bangalore and Kochi, so 4 regions like Telangana, Karnataka, Kerala, and Andhra. Tamil Nadu itself is a separate region because there's so many chapters in YI. So I work with NASCOM Center of Excellence for IoT and AI, NASCOM 10,000 Startups, and Accenture also. And there were a lot of logos that I didn't put here, a lot of things that I started which didn't continue, a lot of failed experiments, or working with my father in the family business. So there are lots of things that didn't go in here. But they added a lot of perspective, right? So yeah, so I wanted to start with this simple, I put a mirror there as a reflection, right, as an icon. So most of the things that I will share today are very simple. and they appear to be very like common sense, right? But I came across this thing that it could appear like common sense, but we should stop and ask ourselves, is it common practice, right? So when you see, and if it's simple, it's easier to implement. So I actually paid like $500 for a virtual workshop, and he says, you know what, in this workshop I'm going to talk to you about very simple things. But people, if they pay a lot of money, they want to hear a lot of complex jargon, right? It gives them the satisfaction that they learned something crazy, something new, but they will not be able to go back and implement any of those. So something that's simple is easier to implement. So that's the idea behind. So yeah, so 4 things in a startup journey, uh, broad classifications, right? So ideation, build, launch, and scale. So all of us are coming up with great ideas all the time. Next step is to build it, and where you launch, how you launch is the question. And then once you launch and you're finding some traction, taking it to the next level and scaling up is the thing, right? So you can't jump from 1 to 4, or 2 to 4, or just start with 2. Any of these things, like, it doesn't make sense anyway to do that. But most of the time, we think from idea, we can talk about scale. Like we give a lot of large examples when we just have an idea, who our competition is, who our market is, and all. So we should really understand their journey and what it takes to kind of go step by step to that level, right? Like it would have taken Chargebee to 10 years to become a unicorn. So the common cliched saying about took me 7 years to be an overnight success and all that. So I think that's very important for early stage startups to understand. In my experience in working with a lot of early stage startups, right? So I have been an observer on the outside, and I have tried my hand at a couple of ventures as well. So so since we won't have too much time, I wanted to pick more on ideation. That's my most favorite topic always. And I'm known to be the guy who comes up with new ideas for things. So yeah. So I want to start with the simple thing of idea generation and RAS, right? What does RAS stand for? Anybody knows? Random guess. So RAS stands for reticular activation system. Anybody knows what reticular activation system is?
Yes.
Sir? So yeah, okay, I'll go to that, right? So reticular activation system, you can go back and Google it, is your brain's filtering mechanism, right? So today, if I want to buy a Creta, suddenly when I go onto the road, I start noticing a lot of Cretas on the road, right? Is it because there are more Cretas on the road from that day that I decided to buy a Creta? No, right? It's just that your brain is now noticing that. So same way, when you're looking for, an opportunity, you'll see opportunities everywhere. When you look for problems, complaints, you'll see all those around you, right? So a simple example, I don't know how many of you know Tony Robbins, right? He's a motivational speaker and all that stuff. So he gave a demonstration in a room like this, right? He said for 30 seconds or 1 minute, observe all the things in the room that are yellow, right? And I won't make you go through it right now, but he said, observe all the things that are yellow in the room, and then close your eyes. And then he asked them, tell me what were brown in the room, right? And nobody could think of it. So his point was, your yellows could be your complaints, and brown could be your opportunities. While you're so focused on the yellow, you're missing out all your opportunities, right? So that was his point. So I think I just wanted to be very abstract and then go down into each of these things, right? Like how do we approach this? So one takeaway from this slide is that where is our reticular activation system, right? Today, if I want to make $1 million in 2023, I might be looking at all the ideas that are coming up, or some tool that gives me an idea, or some people, resources and people just walk into your life magically because your brain is focusing on that, right? So simple. I mean, there are so many books like Cracking Creativity, thinker toys, and I've read through most of them, right, on different frameworks for idea generation and all that. Sometimes frameworks give you brilliant structure and thinking with constraints and all that. But I thought the simplest thing, right? What can we start with like I read this in James Altucher's book. He says idea generation is like a muscle. You need to exercise it, right? So he says start off with a simple practice of generating 10 ideas per day and probably do it for 30 days, right? So that's 300 ideas. And I'm not talking about business ideas. So that's only the first question. If you see, I started with 10 ideas, 10 questions for today's talk, right? That I can add to give you as an example. So business is only one. What business can I start? Can you list down 10 things? How can I be more productive? Can you list down 10 things? Which new channels can I explore to find new customers, which I haven't explored earlier? 10 new ways. How can I make $1 million in 2023? I just spoke about that question, right? The moment you write that question down, you're suddenly noticing the browns, right? The opportunities and people and who will guide you there. So same way, yeah, multiple questions, right? The point over here he was trying to make is most of the times we are not aware that the top, when you start this exercise, right, initially, the first 3, 4, 5 ideas are very easy to write down because those are the dominant thoughts in your mind and what you see in your immediate environment. Same ideas are circulating when you're talking to similar people and, what you see every day in your daily path of work and all that. So whatever is your dominant thought idea in your mind, and in your immediate environment something is there, you write down those in the first 3, 4, 5 ideas, and suddenly you realize you ran out of ideas, right? Then the 6th and the 7th and the 8th and the 9th ideas are a stretch. That's when your mind is stretching. So every day you're practicing to stretch your mind, right, and come up. That's when the 7th idea and the 8th idea will be novel combinations. You start looking at something else and something else over here and try to make that an idea, right? And that's how you will start practicing your idea generation, start strengthening your idea generation muscle. And it has helped me a lot. So sometimes what happens is when you do it for 30 days, right, the third idea on the first day and maybe the 77th idea on the 7th day together could be a game-changing idea, right, or your next venture. So quality always comes from quantity, they say, right? If you want 3 best ideas for something, you cannot come up with 3 best ideas with just those 3 best ideas. Most of the people generate 100 ideas and then start. They say diverge first and then converge. Like stop at one point and then converge. So shortlist the best ideas. So out of quantity comes quality, right? So this is a very simple exercise, and I think 30 days, if you guys do it, on the 31st day, you will be a very different person, right? Same event will be in front of you. The way you look at coming up with a solution will change. These are basics. These are fundamentals. And when we stop and take a step back at looking at fundamentals, you can make a big shift, right? They give you an example of a golf course where if I'm standing here and if I make an inch difference over here and an inch difference over there, it can go in a completely different direction. So if we take a step back and work on our fundamentals, I think a big change can come. I want to do a quick activity. I think we won't have to go through the entire activity, but if you can keep shouting out anything that comes to your mind, right? So you see a brick over there. What are all the things that you can do with a brick, which apart from the regular use of it, right? Like construction, like you use bricks to make walls, right? Apart from that, what can you think of?
Stove. Cooking equipment.
Cooking, yeah.
You can use it to throw it at the speaker.
Weapon, yes.
Stop.
It can be a paperweight. Fantastic, yeah. Kill someone, weapon, yeah. Sim, yeah. No bad ideas.
Vehicle stopper. Right?
Vehicle stopper, fantastic.
Pillow.
Pillow, that's a bad pillow, but a pillow. Anything else? Huh? Door stopper, vehicle stopper, yeah, pretty much. Yes. height elevator, maybe if we can call it. Exercise. Dumbbell. Yes, perfect. So, any more?
This object of being just an object. Beauty object.
Beauty of, okay, decoration, home decor.
Use it as a crayon to draw on a wall.
Amazing. I think I don't have to do the activity. The ideas are already coming. Right? So, the reason I wanted to talk about this is like to introduce a key idea called dots versus frames. Right? And I made note of it so that I don't miss out on any key point that I can tell you. So we've done this exercise quickly, right? Normally, I would request people to just take out a pen and paper and write down their ideas so that they can see the difference before and after, right? So think of like some round objects, like a ball, right? What can you think of? Like any more? Gulab jamun, great. That's the dominant thought. So, ball, yeah.
Chocolate.
Yeah, Panipuri.
Pani puri.
Blue planets.
Amazing, yeah.
Apple.
Fruit. Right. Ice cream scoop, great. Yeah, I'll come to that point next. That's actually you're making the case for me. This usually happens, and thanks that she's doing it, right? Scoop, ice cream scoop, gulab jamun, so she gave that.
Nothing on Kailas. Doppler radar.
Yeah. So the point here is, we spoke about some dots here, right? These ideas are dots, but now we will think about frames that will help you. So if we list out or if we count the number of ideas that we got, it would have been less than 10, right? But if I give you 1 minute and if I asked you to think about it like this, you would have come up with less than 10 ideas in a minute. I tried the same exercise, and then actually I kind of led you with saying a ball, right? And that kind of, then he kind of strayed and said planets. So whenever you have to start with ideas, think about frames and not dots, because these will be less than 10 ideas. If you start listing out frames, for example, he said planets. When I'm asking you in 1 minute, how many round objects can you think of? The moment he listed a frame planet, in the planet it can be Earth, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Neptune, and all these things, right? Suddenly, under that one frame, you have 20 ideas already, right? The next frame can be food. The moment you put a food frame, gulab jamun, scoop, this, that, and all, and you get off 10 ideas again, 20 ideas. And what else could be a thing? Another frame. Wheels. Ball. So football, cricket ball, tennis ball, all sorts of things. So you listed so many, right? So now imagine how many dots are coming. In 1 minute, if you took out first 10, 20 seconds to list out like 4 or 5 frames. In the remaining, 40, 50 seconds, you could have come up with 60, 70 dots. So what it does is 3 things, right? Quantity. Frames are idea multipliers. Like, instead of 5, 6 ideas, you're able to generate 50, 60 ideas now because of the frames. Second thing is diversity. Every frame opens up a new door, right? Different dots, like a tennis ball from here and a globe from somewhere can give you a different idea, right? Which you wouldn't have normally opened up to, generally. And the last one is, the same thing that I said, multiple frames make it possible to connect completely different ideas, right? Which are your dots. So I read this quote over here that everyone can spot obvious connections and therefore come up with similar ideas. Creative people train themselves to make the most unlikely connections. And this is an example. I saw an interview of Elon Musk's first wife, and the interviewer asked her about what's special about Elon Musk. So she says his ability to connect like completely disparate things, right? Like the things that we couldn't think of. And that's the best thing about Elon Musk, right? She says, according to her observation. So, if you are in the logistics industry, customer service is probably the last thing that they give preference to, or like priority to. But if you're in a hospitality industry or the airline industry, say when you walk into a 5-star or a 7-star hotel, hospitality is a norm, right? Like a very basic thing there. And in the airline industry, people greet you well, they treat you well. Imagine something that's a norm in one industry, when you pick it and take it to an industry that does not have it at all, it could be a game changer. So the ability to connect like disparate things, right? That's what she talks about Steve Jobs. I'm sorry, about Elon Musk. So ideas baseline, this is something that I really always reflect upon, right? So if your baseline is here today, because of the people that we talk to, circulate the environment group that we circulate with and all that, if our ideas baseline is here today, your mental diet, not just our physical diet is for our food, right? Our mental diet gives us the next level of our thinking also. So inputs lead to outputs, right? So very simple things. So then I thought if you have to get better outputs, we have to go back and revisit our inputs and improve our inputs, right? So if I have a friend and I'm just going around with a group of friends who's talking about regular stuff, movies, and going out here, partying, and all these things. And there's somebody else who's reading how Elon Musk is thinking, how Richard Branson is thinking, connecting with mentors who built $10-20 million businesses, right? So when a same situation comes in front of us, my idea baseline is low and his idea baseline is higher, right? He's improved it. He's leveled up by working on a certain set of things, right? They say if you watch news, that's probably the worst thing that you can do to yourself. And I don't watch the news at all. And when I heard the idea first that, maybe I need to know what's happening, right? Then I slowly realized that I don't need to. And most people say that there is an objection when they do that. Because there's a lot of negative stuff that keeps happening. It's okay. If something needs to reach you, it will reach you anyway, right? But if you're constantly exposing yourself to that, your idea baseline keeps changing up and down. So, yeah, this is my own concept. I didn't pick it from anywhere. Yeah. So since I wanted to talk about automation, right? I can't really cover because everybody does different things. I can't cover how can you automate things. But this is one of my LinkedIn posts that I made recently. Today I took the screenshot, so it was 2 weeks ago.
It's too expensive.
Sorry?
It's too expensive.
Too
expensive.
To do what?
That using that tool.
Which one?
Oh, sorry.
There is no tool here.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I said, a lot of my colleagues and the peers in my industry who are working on startup programs everywhere, right? They keep asking me, hey dude, how are you automating all these things? How are you, coming up with all these ideas, finding all these tools to do these things better, right? Then I also thought about it, like, what am I actually doing? Then I stopped there and I thought about it. And that's why I wrote this also. That's like a simple practice that I'm doing. Anything that I do on a recurring basis, right? And I find it boring or irritating, I just go on Google and type, how do I automate XYZ? It's as simple as that. I can't tell you how to automate anything and everything, but it's as simple as that. Whenever I'm faced with a challenge, the moment I went in, just Googled, how do I automate XYZ, right? And I always found the solution. I said, highly likely that you'll find a Saas tool that will help you automate it or some hack, right? And I'll show you some examples of my regular work that I put 90% of my regular work on autopilot right now so that I get time to do new things, right? So I was like, how about listing 3 tasks that you do on a regular basis and figuring out ways to automate it? Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Has someone thought about automation this way? It's just an approach, right? I can't give you gyan about automation and take you through one boring process of automating something. I don't think it makes sense to everybody, right? And that's why I wanted to talk about the fundamentals. So I just want to take you through 4 examples of mine, which I'm using, right? And that covers the growth tools or whatever. A simple tool is called Motion. It's a Y Combinator startup. I don't know how many of you are aware of Y Combinator. Right? Great. Y Combinator is the most highly revered startup program in the accelerator program in the world that every startup wants to get into. It's like the Harvard and Stanford for startup acceleration, right? So this is a YC startup. Use Motion, and I'll tell you what I do with it. So I just took a screenshot, which is like a plugin on the side for me on my Google Chrome browser. And anytime somebody tells me something, right, like Mr. Srinivas reached out to me and said, hey, if you want to speak over here, can you do this on this day? So for that, what do I need to do? I had to make this presentation, right? So I immediately clicked on Motion, which is lying on the side on the browser, and I just typed the task name, make presentation for Startup Saturday. And then I put the duration to it. I immediately prioritize it. Are you able to see this? ASAP, high, medium, low, hard deadline, soft deadline, no deadline. Next. And then I can choose my soft deadline or hard deadline. And I just quickly do a schedule enter. Command enter. World is exploding. This also takes me to an example of how SaaS world is exploding. It's running like a parallel universe so fast, right? Like anything that you think of, there is a SaaS tool that replaces people, right? And so, being a 1% or a 2% company, if you know the right SaaS tool to use, you can do the work of a 100 people company. And the best part about SaaS is it's software only, right? The moment you have offline operations, scaling up is hard. So I'll come to the rest of the things later about building SaaS. Am I on time or is there time? How much time? So this is one tool that I use, okay? Browse AI.
Can you wrap up in 5 minutes and then QA?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I have 3 more slides.
21. Never mind.
Yeah.
He's going to finish. It's Bharghav.
So yeah, next tool is Browse AI. This is a pretty cool tool for me because what I do is it's a very specific example to me, but you know it could help one of you or may not at all also. But I'm just giving you an example of what I did. Right, I wanted to pull up, say Y Combinator. I go partner with Y Combinator. Y Combinator has say 3,000 companies, portfolio companies, and I want to reach them and tell them, hey, I have a partnership with Y Combinator. You will get these startup credits as a partner this thing because they may not notice it in all the deals dashboard that they have, right? And I wanted to put ChargeBee in front of them. So what I did is I went to their website. The normal way I started doing it is I started copying the names of all these companies into a Google sheet, right? And then I went and found their email addresses and all that. And then I would put it in an email tool. But I realized email conversions were not that great. I wanted to reach out to them on LinkedIn. So I was manually sending out LinkedIn invites to all of them. Then I Googled, how do I automate picking? Of course, web scrapers are very easy to build. Everybody builds it, right? But the best part about Browse AI is it's a no-code tool. And it integrates with multiple tools, right? So it's a very simple no-code way for me to log in and I just go to a website, I record it, I give names to it, and it just puts things into a Google Sheet for me like that, right? I got the list of all my Combinator companies in less than 2 minutes. And then I have to do LinkedIn outreach to them, right? This is where a tool like Dripify. Then I checked, I Googled again, how do I automate my LinkedIn outreach to people? Usually we think of LinkedIn InMail. InMail is the equivalent of a spam email. Nobody likes to open it, nobody likes to respond to it, right? But if I send out a personalized connection request to Mr. Srinivas saying that, hi Srinivas, I noticed that you're doing so and so. We'd love to partner with you to do X, Y, Z, right? It's a very personalized, and good to see what you're doing at X company, Alco. So today you have mail personalization softwares, right? You can use MailChimp and HubSpot and all that to send out emails like this. But for LinkedIn, Dripify helps you do that. So what I do is when I pull out all the list of the people I have to reach out to, and I put them on a sequence like this on LinkedIn. So normally I was doing it manually. Today while I'm here, but Saturday it does not run in the backend. But if I was here on a Friday, I'd be standing here and talking, but the tool is doing the work for me. Reaching out to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 startup founders every day, right? So these are just some examples. QA Pop. I think a great place to start. Most of their startups find their first few customers on Quora. Because if somebody has a problem, they're going and posting about it, right? So everything starts with, Paul Graham of Y Combinator says, like, do things that don't scale first. And most of you must have heard of it, right? So I start with doing it manually, then I realize it's becoming hard. Now, how can I automate it? Next step, right? First, do it manually so that you know the steps, and then you can automate it. So I started going and looking for questions related to SaaS, SaaS startups, SaaS pricing, and all that. And I thought, okay, well, have somebody from my team answer those questions. Then it became very hard to do it at scale. So then we thought, how can we do it at scale? Enters the tool. We either hire another person into our team or get a tool. Right? I googled it. I got QA Pop. It's just unbelievable how people are coming up with tools and SaaS products. Anything that you can imagine, there's already a tool to automate it, right? And if it's not there, it's an opportunity to build it. So QA Pop, 3 steps. The moment I give in a topic, it says what are some of the best questions around that, right? Second, it's using GPT-3. Most of you must be knowing tools like copy.ai and all that, which are helping you auto-generate copy and all that stuff, using AI to generate your copy and content and all that. So it drafts an AI response for that answer automatically. And the third thing it tells you is, what are some of the questions that are getting high views but no one's answered them. So you get an unfair advantage, right? So when you are the value provider for that domain, if I'm in the travels industry, and if I go and look at all the travel related questions people are asking, that kind of gives me what to answer over there, right? At the moment you answer that, organically you are getting a lot of customers. Yeah, it comes. This is the last slide that I have, and some of the I have like 10,000 resources I would like to share, but it is a hard thing to do because I wanted to talk more about ideas and generally how you approach things. Right? These are like my top 4 resources I would suggest to people. Couple of things that I picked up in our talk today are from this book called Ideas on Demand. It's by an Indian author. I forgot the name now. You can check it out. I've read so many books like I told you, Cracking Creativity, Thinking, Thinker Toys, and a lot of these things. They just overwhelm you with too many frameworks and too many approaches to do things, right? So it was very overwhelming. That's why this book was the best. Very simple, very easy to read, and you get excited by the end of the book, right? Almanac of Naval Ravikant. Naval Ravikant is like treated like God in Silicon Valley. And anything and everything that he says is very deep. Most people believe that. And I read his book. It has 2 parts called, the first part is about wealth creation and the second part is about happiness. And just both parts are fantastic, right? Like if you're able to really sit and internalize and let that sink in, I think it could be life changing. Magic of Thinking Big is another book that kind of completely changed my perspective and helped me start leveling up my thinking, right? Highly, highly recommend reading this book. Product Hunt. I'm always on Product Hunt every day. Instead of scrolling on Instagram for some time, I scroll on Product Hunt, right? Again, like I told you, inputs give you better outputs, right? Some fantastic tools that people build. It is so exciting to see what's happening over there. That every day, maybe just schedule 10 minutes of your day, scroll through Product Hunt, right? You see what are all the tools that people are building. It won't happen on the 2nd day or the 3rd day, but maybe on the 35th day or the 42nd day, you suddenly come up with an idea, right? Looking at all this because you're letting this soak in, and that's when you come up with. Yeah, that's it. Same slide from earlier, but with a thank you. So was it simple and was it common sense, right? But again, is it common practice is a question that we need to ask ourselves. That's it. Thank you. If you have any questions, if I have an answer, I'll give you. Otherwise, I'll say I don't know.
Can you define SaaS?
SaaS, like I told you, SaaS stands for Software as a Service, right? Back in the day, Microsoft and all that companies like Microsoft would sell big licenses. If you're a buyer of Microsoft's Office Suite or something like that, you had to pay a big licensing fee upfront to get access to their software. Not like us personal users who will find the cracked version of it and use it for free and all that, because we don't realize the importance of it. If you're running an organization, you have to have that software licensing impact analysis is there in all these companies, right? So people have to pay large upfront fees, and from there the model shifted, right? Salesforce was the first one, a pioneer in this industry to, pioneer of SaaS model. They kind of shifted things. Instead of buying a house, right, you pay rent. So it eases the thing, right? Instead of paying 2 crores today, I'm like, it's okay to pay 20,000 rent. That's what SaaS is, right? You get a software as a service, so that you can keep scaling up. Now it's much more convenient for companies where I have 5 people, I buy 5 seats at $5 each, $25 a month. When I become 100, I pay 100 into 5, $500 a month. Pay-per-use model, usage-based pricing, value-based pricing. There's so many models like that.
I think a car would be a better example than a house.
EMIs.
No. In the sense that every year you can change a new model. A house, you generally don't change.
Exactly. House also we can change, but I think that makes more sense, right? You can sell and you can lease a car. If you don't like it in 6 months, you can switch to another tool. I showed you Dripify, right? I started LinkedIn automation with Dripify. After 3 months, I didn't like it. I found a better tool called Closely. So I didn't invest 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs on a software. Now I'm stuck with it. I for that month and I moved to Closely HQ.
Is it possible to retrieve mobile numbers from email IDs?
I have no idea. No, but we can Google it. Right? I always do that. Like somebody asks me a question, it triggers my curiosity. I go back and Google it and I find a way to do it. Right? But I honestly don't know the answer to that.
But basically Google for learning about other things, you're saying RAS or something, but they usually don't do about software. I think that's something you need to start doing with a lot of things.
So today this got activated, right? Today you started thinking about it from a software perspective, and they say the best ideas come when you have a diverse, this thing. Like, if you are somebody who's in finance, read about arts, read about marketing, read about design, read about a lot of things. That's when you can bring the best ideas from another place to here.
But like you're into this growth marketing and so you're already doing the heavy lift and shift job, like figuring out automation tools and all. So is it possible for you to say that as a company, so that we as an early startups, so we don't want to and we can't also invest in growth and marketing. So we can use that as a framework.
So good question. Actually, I thought about this, but I thought it would take too much time. But like I gave you an example of what ChargeBee for Startups team does, right? I go and partner with VCs and accelerators, and we give free credits to people, right? If somebody goes to ChargeBee's website directly, they get access to our launch plan, $99 per month plan, most basic bare bones plan, for free until their first 100K in revenue. That's a very basic freemium plan that we have. You can't do much with it. Very basic features. But when I go partner with a VC or an accelerator, and you come through that, we give you a $299 price plan for free until $1 million in revenue. You don't have to think about paying for ChargeBee. Only after you hit $1 million in revenue, you pay for ChargeBee. The reason I gave it this example is every tool has these kind of offers, right? If you're an early stage startup, you can actually, sometimes they put it up on their website about their startup program. Sometimes you can just write a mail to them saying that, hey, I'm an early stage startup, I want to give this a try. Are there some credits you can extend, or is there a coupon? So I think that's a hack for most startups. So yeah, and there are resources, right? Like there are much better people than me who've written about growth, startup growth, and all. Demand Curve is one amazing place where you can find growth. So I follow these kind of things.
The reason we're asking is like we just want to move from point A to B, not for the jet engine. But when we look at ourselves from these tools and all, like, we get a overall like one tool or got 4 options. By evaluating those 4 tools, like is who is already experts into particularly the tool, if they sell what you need like so
But you have to
like,
find your own thing, right? Software. Sweet spot.
he is already into the tool.
So your requirement is different from Bhargav's requirement. So what are your requirements is what you basically saying is try Google and try out few things which is there.
So when you read about the tools, it's overwhelming. But when you try it, it's not. Right? So when I finally finalized Tripify to use, right, what I did was I tried Octopus CRM, I tried LinkedIn Helper. I went on used all the trial versions of all of them. I like Tripify the best. I used it. But if I was reading about it, pros and cons, reviews and all that, it overwhelms me, right? So when I go and try it, it's different. Like, it's different to read about swimming and like actually diving into the pool and swimming it to get that experience, right? So yeah.
And one more small point to that, I think to help him and others, STPI, Gramina Incubation Center, Hub, all of them, as far as I know, the plan is to put something together for startups that are being incubated in Visakhapatnam to kind of give the AWS credits, the Chartbeat credits, and so on. So being a part of that, the environment here would probably be of good use to you, or could be quite useful to you.
A lot of startups used to become a part of NASSCOM 10,000 startups program because there's a huge, exhaustive startup kit. You get credits to tons of startup tools, right? And people just join for that also sometimes because everybody is going to NASSCOM 10,000 startups, like every tool, because they think that they'll find a lot of startups once they partner with 10,000 startups, right? So that's like the node. Yeah. The technology service providers are coming, and also this thing, the users are also here, finding it on one platform. And same is the case with STPI, with AHAB, and every place, people. In fact, that's one thought I want to leave everyone with, right? Instead of thinking of very big things to solve, what's the simplest problem that you can solve around you, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because it came across in an AU talk earlier where one student asked me something about building a very complex, very like some big medical device which will grab a virus and all that stuff. It went over my head. The idea went over my head. I didn't understand anything. So I told him, like, from my past experience, there are two ways to do it. One, you're trying to play level 10 of the game directly, right? And then you might try a couple of things, it doesn't work, and then you start pointing fingers outside. Government is not doing this, or no investors in Vizag, ecosystem is bad. You start pointing fingers outside, right? Instead, I told him that two ways. One is, what's the simplest problem around you that you can solve? Use Airtable or use small tools, stitch a solution together, curate it, right? Or build a small community of say problem solvers over here. Anything. Start with the most simplest thing, then play level 2, level 3, level 4. And then you can reach your level 10 idea. Or if you're really obsessed about that idea, go out there and be an apprentice under somebody, right? 3 years, 5 years, work in that industry. You will understand the ecosystem, the market dynamics, who are all the stakeholders. You will build relationships with them and then jump into that idea, right? So most of the times the problem is we want to go from 0 to 100 directly. So yeah, so that's how I started. I noticed that every accelerator, every VC that I reach out to, they still want to add more tool deals to their, this thing. For example, if STPI today has 10 tools that they give offers to, right? They still want their startups to get access to 100 tools, right? So somebody at STPI has to sit and work on building all those partnerships for 100. Somebody at NASSCOM, 10,000 startups or COE should sit and again build all this 100 things, right? So instead, I thought I built something called a small tool called Micro VC Stack. Okay, when I'm reaching out to micro VCs, because they are the stakeholders I work with, I want to solve a simple problem for them. Then they like me better. My relationship with them gets better. I build great rapport that tomorrow when I ask something for ChargeBee also, they'll give me. So what I did is, instead of everybody doing the same work, let me spend 1 or 2 months in, gathering and curating all the deals, right? And then my first conversation, if you're a VC, hey, I built this micro VC stack, it has 100 tools and all the POCs of all the people who run this startup programs at all these companies, right? And the deal that they offer. They're like, thank you so much, Bhargav, this is lovely. I do not have to spend hours and months to look for these tools, right? And that built great rapport for me. So very simple solution using Airtable. I just, like an Excel sheet, I just put everything together. So think of these simple problems, you level up level 1, level 2 and all. Yeah, I think I'm taking too much time. So if you have any questions, we'll step aside and have an offline conversation. Thank you everyone. Thank you, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. And thanks, Danesh, for coordinating beautifully.